Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Complete Sports Media's podcast. I heard we just went viral, and we're pretty stoked here. Beautiful day today in the city of Vancouver. We're second week of our spring break around here, so a little bit too many kids around, but what are you gonna do? And I guess they're happy, but yeah, we're having fun over here. Had a good weekend full of sports. I'm wearing my Jeter Yankees jersey in honor of opening day this week of Major League Baseball. Thursday, 28 teams out of 30 are in action, and the marathon begins 162 games over 180 days, and we're going to be just inundated with baseball. Can't wait. It's going to be super fun. I'll talk a little bit about that in a few minutes. But yeah, welcome, Jason, to the show. How was your weekend? Heard you had a little bit of a crappy day, but how was your weekend behind us?
The weekend was good. It was kind of, I guess, the celebration of my birthday, which was on Thursday.
Right.
So I was able to get some meals from friends on
Yeah.
Friday night at a certain friend's, and then Saturday night at another friend's. But the awesome thing was after we had he made like a great steak with baked potato, with chives and bacon bits and sour cream. It was awesome.
Nice.
And then we had some drinks, and then we were watching movies, and it just happened to be all Denzel all day.
Oh,
So
fun.
so, so we went because he was talking about the Equalizer. So I've already seen the Equalizer one, so we
Yeah.
watched two and three back
Oh,
to back,
wow. Oh,
and
awesome.
it was great. It was
That's cool.
fantastic. Like
Very
anything with
good.
Denzel's good. So
Yeah, of course. Yeah, he's so great. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned the meal with baked potato and all that. Like, last night we had a huge dinner over at Lorraine's parents' place. They're heading down to Palm Springs tomorrow, so they had a big get-together dinner, everyone, and they had steak, amazing steak, these incredible shrimp, baked potato, all the fixings. We had Caesar salad and amazing carrots and everything. It was an awesome meal and an amazing dessert too. I forget what they called it, some kind of amazing chocolate cake that was phenomenal. And yeah, so I was happy all night last night and all day today because yeah, that was the best meal I had in quite a while.
yeah, I know. Like it's so good when it's uh made like that, and you get to reap the rewards of the free meal of an excellent meal.
Yeah.
Made with care and love and all that sort of stuff. It's nothing like it.
Yeah, just before we started the podcast here, press record, you told me that you tweaked your back today. Funny enough, I tweaked mine really badly yesterday, and when I went to the dinner, I was having a hard time moving around, and I mentioned it to a couple of people there, and they were like, "Oh, me too," and I think there was maybe five or yeah, maybe about five or six bad backs out of the crew that we had there. And
What?
it was so weird. Everyone seemed like they were really feeling bad about it. So maybe it's going around like a cold is, but yeah, it seemed bizarre.
Yeah, and whenever you tweak your back, it's always over nothing, or you just have like you're picking up the lightest thing in the room. And for me, I wasn't even picking up anything. I was reaching out for something.
Oh, wow.
And it was like it felt like a gunshot went off of my back. I was like, ah, I literally I was audible. I went, ah. The guy goes, what
Uh,
happened to you? I'm like, oh, my
brutal.
back. Fuck.
Damn.
Oh, it was brutal. It was
Is it
brutal.
feeling better?
Stiff, man.
Uh,
Stiff. Like I've been trying to roll it out and stuff, and I'm just like, ugh.
wow.
Yeah, it's just
Brutal.
stiff. Yeah.
That's too bad. Yeah, it sucks when it's over nothing, just reaching. That means we're old.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
When you throw it your back when you're reaching for something. Yep. That's it.
Getting a bit old. Um, we speaking of that dinner party, uh, I was I was talking to Lorraine's brother about hockey a little bit, and the conversation turned up about Ovetkin, and He's always been called the Great Eight, and he's now reached 888 goals. And I think that's just the perfect time to retire. Like, you can't get a better number. It's like everybody said Jordan should have retired on his last shot. Gretzky should have retired his. There's always these iconic moments, and 888 sounds perfect. Let's retire. Don't break Gretzky's record, and just you can't have a better number to finish on for the Great Eight than 888.
No, that sounds. You're right. It's absolutely perfect, especially with his nickname being the Great Eight.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
Yeah, and they said no, no, no. I can't wait till he breaks the record. And I said, are you kidding me? I can't believe how much I don't want him to break the record. And they said, why? And I said, because he's a stinking Russian. And everybody started laughing. And they said, do you know what nationality he is? And I go, yeah, he's Russian. And they were like, oh my God, brutal. And yeah, I'm like, yeah, we don't like Russians around here, do we? We actually like Russians around here. And they were all like, yeah, we kind of do. And I'm like, yeah, no, 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 we don't want a Russian to break this record, especially over a Ukrainian. Come on, what are we thinking here?
Yeah, I know, I know. Actually, now, okay, so he's at 888. How close is he?
He's 8 away, I believe it is now. 890. Oh no, 7 away, I guess it is, to actually be the record holder. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. So he's probably going to do it. Like, how about this? No, he probably is going to do it. He might do it this year, right?
Yeah, yeah. The way he's been playing, yeah, it seems like it's kind of inevitable, but
yeah,
but you never know. But yeah, he's definitely seems like he's on the path to getting it done this year. I would think that he's probably not even done his career. So if he doesn't get it this year, he'll do it next year. But it just seems like his teammates are feeding him. It seems like, all his focus every time he's getting on the ice is just get into that spot where he loves to shoot from. And I think, with the team focused so much on it, I don't see it not happening.
Exactly. Like, and I think the whole team is pulling for him. The whole organization's pulling for him.
Yeah.
And he's had an exceptional year this year. Like, so good that I think a lot of people are kind of surprised by how good of a year he's had.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. He's had a big bounce back year because, I mean, we talked about it on the podcast a few times, and you saw him. I think you saw him live, didn't you? And you said,
yes, I did.
Man, he looked like a fat old man out there.
Yeah, he looked horrible. Yeah. He looked absolutely like it. He looked horrible. He looked like, I'm on my way out. I'm not going to be able to catch Gretzky. I'm good.
Yeah.
That's how he looked.
Yeah. Have you seen Putin ever skate around in Russia there? He plays games a lot, and he scores about 10 goals a game because everybody just dives out of the way and lets him fucking score tons of goals. You ever seen Putin skate? He looked like Putin last year.
Okay, yeah. And also too, that makes a lot of sense because if you don't let me score, your whole family's dead. So yeah, you're gonna let him score. So I haven't seen Putin skate. Okay. I'll tell you what I have seen him do. I've seen him ride a horse, shirtless. That's what I have
seen. Yeah. Trump's gonna be pulling that off anytime now.
Oh, yeah, that'd be awesome.
I think Putin is his hero. It seems like. Oh man, I love Putin. All the things he does there, I got to try to emulate him.
Yeah. That's because he's a dictator, and then the U.S. is like you got like rules and laws.
Yeah,
that are supposed to prevent you from doing that. Maybe that's why he like Putin so much because it's like he just changes the rules.
Yeah, come on. I know. That's the worry I have. Is like, well, Putin took over Ukraine, so why not take over Canada? Hey, it makes sense. Yeah. We're going to take over Greenland. We're going to take over Canada. We're going to change the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. Let's just change all the rules we can. Why not? That guy's done it. He's got away with it.
Exactly. Luckily, we have other people that are like, well, there's this thing called, I don't know, the law. So no, you can't do that.
Yeah. I'm worried that he's going to try to change the law that presidents can't have more than 2 terms. And, it's going to be like, out of my cold, dead hands, you're getting me out of the Oval Office, out of the White House here. Like, I feel like he's going to try to do that because It seems like he's trying to change rules and laws every day.
Yeah, like he literally is. Like, okay, so I watch this YouTube channel, which is very good about legal stuff. I think it's called Legal Eagle or something like that.
Nice.
So the guy always starts off with, so is this legal what Trump is doing? The answer, I would say about 90%, 95% of the time is illegal.
Yeah.
All illegal. Like
Yeah.
everything he's doing, you can't do it. You're not allowed to do it, or you shouldn't do it at all. And
Yeah.
then yeah, and then he goes on.
Well, yeah, well, like how many charges did he have? And he beat those,
Yep.
convicted felon, and he was like, "Oh yeah, oh well, sweep that under the rug." All the guys that stormed the White House, I'll get them all out of jail and wipe the slate clean for all those guys. And it just seems like, yeah, I watch a lot of shows too, and it seems like on a daily basis he's doing illegal things, and there's no consequence. It's absolutely no consequence.
No, no, yeah, there's no consequence at all. It's like those his friends that are in there with him, his cronies, they just do whatever the heck they want.
Yeah.
Like the one thing that was shocking to me is that they pulled the funding for veterans.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, isn't
Horrible.
that like kind of like the backbone of American society?
Yeah.
Is your vets? And
Yeah.
you pulled the funding for them? Like, are you crazy?
Brutal. Yeah.
Yeah, crazy.
Harsh. Yeah. Just insane. Yeah. Well, yeah, enough about politics. Let's get on to the world of sports. I want to dedicate this podcast to George Foreman and his life and memory. He passed away a couple of days ago, and had just an absolutely remarkable life, an incredible boxing career in the ring, and then became quite the changed man in his later years, became sort of a beloved grandpa type of a figure, was a pitch man that made hundreds of millions of dollars pitching products, and really had a resurgence, a reincarnation, really, after he was a tough, mean, very scary individual in his early boxing days, capturing the heavyweight title, beating Joe Frazier, having that rumble in the jungle against Muhammad Ali, and being this one of the scariest individuals on the face of the earth. Retired, well, kind of retired, took 10 years break from boxing, ended up coming back, and just seeming like a totally different man. Still a boxer and still very successful, but just seemed to be a different guy. And yeah, I think he'll be remembered so fondly. Incredible career. 76-5 was his boxing record. Two-time heavyweight champion, the oldest heavyweight champion of the world. He was the third youngest when he first won it, and then
Yep.
was the oldest when he won it for the second time. And then, of course, the George Foreman grill, and the hundreds of millions of dollars he made from that. Tell me your thoughts of George Foreman, and what kind of legacy he's going to leave behind.
Well, it's kind of like a couple different legacies, right? Like George Foreman, the pitch man. Well, like the George Foreman grill was probably one of the most successful uh, pieces that you could see in everybody's kitchen at one point in time, and he made a ton of money off that. The fact that he was one of the most vicious punching boxers in boxing history.
Yeah.
Like the amount of power that was coming at you the entire time when you fought that man, you'd be like, I'm probably not going to survive this. I'm not going to survive this encounter.
Yeah.
And with his record of 76-5, not many did.
No.
Not many did.
No, he
So
did. Yeah.
yeah. And the other thing is too, like the fact that he came back and won the heavyweight belt
Yeah.
at being the oldest boxer. I can't remember how old he was. But the one thing they always say about boxers is that your power is the last thing to fade.
Yeah.
He proved that.
Yeah.
He literally proved that point by winning the heavyweight championship belt again.
He was 45 years and 299 days old when he won
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
The second oldest heavyweight champion to win it was Evander Holyfield, did it at 37 years, 298 days. So a little more than 8 years,
Yeah.
8 years and 1 day older than the oldest champion before. So incredible. I will never forget Jim Lampley saying, "It happened. It happened." And
Yeah,
and Michael Moore, you were in a way we were all shocked that Michael Moore was fighting George Foreman, and it seemed like maybe Moore he was 35-0 when he
yeah,
fought George, and you were thinking maybe Moore's not getting the name recognition of his opponents, so he's not getting the popularity and fame that he desires,
yeah.
and maybe this validates him, puts it on him, Foreman on the resume, and all of a sudden, boom, he drops him, he knocks him out, and he wins the title, and so unlikely of a fashion. Everyone was just shocked. It shook up the world.
Shocking.
It blew
Yeah.
everybody's mind when it happened.
No, it was shocking because, like, I think you definitely George Foreman definitely wasn't favored in that fight to win that fight by far and away,
No.
and so it was a major upset because everybody's like, you are well past your prime.
Yeah.
There's no way that you could win the belt, and then he proved everybody wrong and he won
Yeah.
by knockout.
When
At that,
George took his 10-year break, he came back after 10 years. He was 38 years old, and then he won 30 fights in a row, and then he ended up losing to Tommy Morrison
yep,
in a title fight. Had another fight, and then fought Moore and won the title. Ended up finishing his career when he was 49 years old, and yeah, just a phenomenal boxing career. I also remember the Howard Cosell "Down goes Frazier, down goes Frazier," just over and over and over. He's chanting that. He knocked Frazier down 6 times in the opening 2 rounds. After that 6 knockdown, they finally stopped the fight. And he was such a feared puncher. He was just unbelievable. The power that he possessed, and the damage that he inflicted on guys was shocking. And so that rumble in the jungle that happened down in Zaire with Muhammad Ali was so highly anticipated because Ali was the crowd favorite. He was one of the most beloved man on the planet at the time. And Foreman was really kind of that scary guy that you didn't like, that you cheered against because you were
yeah,
like, oh, he's too mean and scary and brutal. The amazing thing about that fight was Ali realized, okay, I can't go toe to toe with him in the early stages because he lands one and I'm down. So he did that rope-a-dope style, which
yeah.
blew everybody's mind. He let Foreman hit him for 7 rounds. And then he ended up tiring George out to the point where he could start teeing off on him. And when Ali won that, probably, in the top 2 or 3 most famous fights of all time.
Absolutely. But I do remember, I think, what Ali said after the fight. It's like, that's the closest to death I've ever felt in my life
Right.
after the fight was done,
Yep.
which makes a lot of sense because you had one of the most powerful punchers in boxing history punching you
Yeah.
unequivocally for
Yeah.
rounds upon rounds upon rounds upon rounds.
Yeah.
And by the way, that was the game plan because that was the way to beat him at that point in time.
Yeah.
And yeah, and the fact that Ali was able to pull it off was just, well, it's a miracle.
I
Period.
know. Incredible. Yeah, I was reading up on George, over the last few days, and one of the things was he had a fight. He said he had a fight against Jimmy Young when he came back, and he said that he actually felt as close to death in that fight that he ever had, and that was one of the main reasons why he walked away from the boxing game. And he said that God came to him, helped him through that fight, finished it off, and he changed his life, became a preacher, born again Christian, and spent 10 years going around and talking about the great things about religion and that. And he said that it was he was suffered from exhaustion, heat stroke, and he had a near death experience in the ring. So it's insane that both these guys had near death experiences in the boxing ring.
Yeah, and then when you do that, you could go one of two ways. And George decided, like, yeah, you know what? It's a good idea to step away from this for a while.
Yeah.
And can't blame him. Can't blame
No.
him when you come that close. to death.
It said he made about $200 million on the George Foreman grill. They sold over 100 million units. He got about $2 per unit, I guess. And then somebody came to him with an offer he couldn't refuse, $137 million. It was $128 million cash, 10 million in stocks. And he was able to walk away and have money for the rest of his time. He got $5 million for the appearance against Ali in Zaire, but out of the 76 fight or 81 fights, he never made anywhere close to the $300 million that he made off the George Foreman grill. So awesome that he was able to find something that set him up that well. And I never knew this. I heard that the company that was building the product wanted a guy to endorse it and be the guy to sell it to the masses. And Hulk Hogan was actually approached before George was, and Hulk never answered the calls, never answered any of the messages that they left for him. And they called George next. George said, for sure. They called Hulk back, or Hulk called them back a week later, and they offered him like a juicer or a food processor or something like that. And he said, oh my God, can you believe it? I could have had couple $100 million. I ended up getting this crappy juicer that was a piece of crap, and nobody ever bought it anyway. So I never knew the story about Hulk Hogan could have been that man, and George might have been left out in the cold there. That's crazy.
It's funny how things work out. It's like, well, lesson learned. That was probably the one phone call you should have took. Didn't do it.
Yeah, amazing, isn't it? Incredible. Yeah. So well wishes to his family, his friends. He leaves behind 12 children. He had 12 kids, also adopted two himself. All the boys are called George. He even had one Georgetta was one of his daughters. But incredible legacy they're leaving him. And a nice, amazingly full life that George leaves behind.
Oh, definitely a full life lived, and I think he passed on with really no regrets.
Yeah,
he accomplished everything he wanted in this life.
Sure did. Yeah, sure did. Okay, I mentioned that I'm wearing this jersey in honor of the MLB season. It kicks off Thursday. Opening game is the Yankees and the Brewers, 9 a.m. Pacific, first pitch. Blue Jays host the Orioles, same time. 14 games go that day. 28 of the 30 teams will play. The Mariners host the Athletics. The Athletics have moved from Oakland to Sacramento now, and they plan to play in Vegas in a couple seasons once their stadium is built. We will be focused on the Mariners quite a bit because there are neighbors to the south, so we'll talk about that. Last week, the Cubs and the Dodgers played 2 regular season games in Japan. They decided to start that off early. The Cubs and Dodgers could come back, get acclimatized back to North American time, and play. It was pretty incredible to watch those games and see the showcase. There was 5 Japanese players on the 2 teams, and there was an all-Japanese matchup, pitching matchup, which was fantastic. And of course, Shohei Ohtani was super loved and adored. He had a huge home run, had a few hits, was really the crowd favorite. And it was really fun to watch. They were played in the middle of the night. I recorded them, watched them in the morning, and it was great. Major League Baseball is actually really even considering having some Japanese teams in Major League Baseball. They're trying to figure out the logistics of that and see if they could pull it off. But something that they're talking about, and seeing if it is something that they could do.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I don't know how they would pull it off, though. It would seem like that would be a very difficult thing to do. And then also too, how many of the teams would they be looking at? Like, would they be looking to amalgamate teams from the Japanese league and just bring them straight over to MLB? Probably.
Yeah.
But it would be cool if they could pull it off, but like the logistics would be really tough.
Yeah, yeah.
Really?
Well, I guess the one good thing about baseball is that you play series, you play
Yeah,
four, 3, 4, 5 game series. Typically it's 4 games set. So, you send a few teams over there, they play, maybe they play, 4, 8, 12 games, and then they come
yeah.
back, so you get a team over there for a couple of weeks,
Weeks.
and, they can play, 3 different series. It's kind of different for most of the other sports, especially basketball and hockey, where it's just one-offs. NFL is just once a week kind of thing. So yeah, baseball has that advantage, and maybe it's possible with the way it's scheduled.
Yeah, with what you're saying right there, yeah. Like if you had the team or a couple teams, like you said, go over there for like a period of 3 weeks at a time.
Yeah,
Yeah, because did have to get acclimated to like the time change and everything else, and then
yeah,
being on a flight for hours on end, and like trying to make sure that their bodies are at peak condition, even with like
yeah.
going over to Japan.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, we'll see what shakes down in the next little while. But yeah, it was cool to watch the games. I really heavily enjoyed it, and I hope there's more games there definitely soon. The only 2 teams that aren't playing on Thursday are the Tampa Bay Devil Rays and the Colorado Rockies. They'll play Friday. I mentioned that Oakland has moved to Sacramento. They're playing in a temporary stadium. Tampa Bay is also playing in a temporary stadium to start because the Tropicana Field was destroyed in Hurricane Milton, and they have been trying to get a new stadium, and the city just rejected their proposal last week. So they are spending their entire season this year, home games, in a training training park that the New York Yankees have their Grapefruit League games every year. Very, very small little stadium. They'll be playing the games there. They jacked up the prices so they can try to squeeze out as much revenue as possible. I looked at tickets today. Cheapest are 150. Most expensive from Ticketmaster, right from the box office, were 420. I think they only seat about 10,000, something like that. And so yeah, we'll see how it goes. It's pretty interesting to watch from George M. Steinbrenner Field down there in Florida. But yeah, that's going to take a while to either fix the stadium and the new roof, or get a new approval for a new stadium in Tampa there.
Yeah, it sounds like it's going to be really tough for them to get approval for a new stadium.
Yeah.
And then since they're fixing the roof, I wonder if they would pivot and just be like, well, maybe we'll just renovate what we already have.
Yeah, yeah, maybe, yeah, yeah. There could be the possibility. Yeah, I think they said it was just the most incredible damage from the
Yeah.
pictures I saw.
Oh
Just
yeah.
insane damage done. But yeah, I mean, I guess it's fixable at some point. You just pump in enough money to it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's why you have insurance or
Yeah,
something like that, and unfortunately that's a lot of money that they're going to have to spend to fix
I
that
know.
up.
Yeah.
Pretty bad.
Okay. You and I have been consumed a little bit over the past week with March Madness. Always our favorite time of the year in the world of basketball. It's been a pretty incredible tournament so far, and it's been a little bit different this year than some previous years. Not as many upsets.
Yeah.
It's been kind of predictable, but when I started looking into the brackets, there are no brackets left. Nobody has a perfect bracket.
Yep.
Everybody's been messed up, and even though there haven't been crazy upsets, there was a few, and I guess more people are choosing upsets to try to have that perfect bracket. And out of something like 35 million brackets, zero have reached perfection after that first couple rounds.
Of course, because like even if you think, okay, I think it should follow to traditional, the higher seeds are going to win or whatever. There's always going to be that one team that just screws it all up. And you're just like, did not see that coming.
Yeah,
Always.
yeah. I guess you got to see a portion of the McNeese State victory there. They had the big upset victory on day one, and that was pretty neat. It sort of really shocked the world, and you know, started killing brackets immediately there.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts when you tuned in and saw little McNeese that had never won a tournament game get the victory?
I thought it was awesome. It's always cool to see the little team that could first time in the tournament and then get their first win in the tournament too as well.
Yeah.
And and also too they had a very unique storyline, especially with their what you were telling me about. Then I looked into the equipment manager who has NIL deals
Yeah.
coming out where I'm just like, how cool is that to
Yeah.
see that the guy he's a part of the team, but not a player.
Yeah.
But also too, he's managed to leverage who he is into NIL deals and money. So bravo to him. Like I hope that more equipment managers just like, wait, that guy's getting paid? I gotta get paid.
Yeah, he's going to be the hero of every equipment manager in the game in all sports. Everyone's going to have the picture above their bed or their mantle. His name is Amir Ora Khan, and he's become a cult national hero. Love the story about the guy, and I had heard about him earlier in the season and was just like, you know, following him a little bit, and he kept sort of popping into social media, you know, when I would log on, and I was just like, oh, this is awesome. This guy's, you know, really leveraging his personality and you know, the great love he has for the game into some money, and then boom, hearing that he has a NIL deal. I saw him signing contracts with all these companies, and
Yeah.
I was like, this is incredible. And then it just seemed to galvanize the team around him. And they just, you know, walked in, him carrying the ghetto blaster, listening to some great rap as they're heading into the games. It just seemed to really pump the team up. And they had a fantastic season in their conference and get into the NCAA tournament and actually win the first game. It was epic, and it's one of the reasons why it's such a fantastic tournament, so fun to watch and to tune in every year.
Yeah, that's part of the fun. That's part of the fun of the tournament. Where you got teams like this, and you got personalities like that are part of this this whole thing, this whole March Madness.
Yeah, I guess the only big team that's still left they're heading into the Sweet 16 is the number 10 Arkansas. They have been able to survive. I'm looking at the games. The next game for the Sweet 16 starts on Thursday, and we've got number 6 BYU against number 2 Alabama. We got number 1 Florida against number 4 Maryland, number 1 Duke against number 4 Arizona, and Arkansas number 10 plays number 3 Texas Tech on that Thursday. Say that 3 times quick. So Arkansas is the lowest seed that are left. You see a lot of the 1 seeds left, a lot of 2 seeds left, and the Cinderella story is kind of already done for most of the programs that were able to get early wins.
Yeah, there was one team that almost was another Cinderella that got in, and that was Colorado State against Maryland.
So close.
That was a close one, because, and I'm pretty sure Colorado State thought we got this when the guy hit the 3 to go up by 1, and then Maryland came immediately down. I loved what the coach said. I loved what the coach said after the game. He says to the team, "Who wants the ball?" and their star rookie goes, "Give me the MFing ball."
Yeah,
to me. He's like, all right, here's the play. He draws up the play for Derek Queen. He drives down and hits that beautiful off glass shot, and they won the game. And I won the game with 0 seconds left, by the way.
I know. That was I think that's
awesome.
I think that's actually the only buzzer beater that we've had in the tournament
so far.
Yeah. I was looking up Derek Queen and some of his accolades this year. He's a sophomore, and looks like he's going to go into the NBA draft coming up. They've got him listed at number 8 on this draft board that I've got here out of the top 10 prospects from ESPN. And yeah, that might even elevate his status even more. That guy
Yeah.
looks like a monster and
Yeah.
super talented. Incredible, incredible last second shot there. And yeah, we'll see as Texas keeps, I mean, as Maryland keeps advancing, we'll see, you know, how much his stock keeps rising.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to see how much his stock keeps rising, but they have a very tough task going up against that
Florida,
Florida team because they're
Florida.
very good.
Yeah, well, Florida was able to knock out UConn last year, the two-time I mean, on the weekend, the two-time defending champion UConn Huskies, and yeah, UConn gave them a hell of a fight, but Florida is one of those number one ranked teams coming in, and they've had a really, really great year.
No, they've had a fantastic year. They're deep. They got a great team, and they can do it all. They can do everything on the court.
I'm looking at that top 10 list here, and Cooper Flagg's number one, has been all year. Baylor's VJ Edgecombe is number two. We got Texas Trey Johnson, and then we got two more Duke players, Con Nipple and Kamon Malouch, are 4 and 5 on this list. And then we've got the European Kasparas Jaquintis. Jeremiah Fears, number 7 from Oklahoma. We got a guy from Yale, which is amazing. Igor Demon. And number 10 for Michigan State Spartans, Jace Richardson. Derek Queen, number 8. Yeah, so and then let's switch to Friday. The rest of the Sweet 16 finishes on Friday. We got number 6 Ole Miss against number 2 Michigan State. We got number 3 Kentucky against number 2 Tennessee. We've got number 1 Auburn against number 5 Michigan, and number 1 Houston against number 4 Purdue. Auburn was the odds-on favorite to win it all starting the season. Charles Barkley's former alma mater, so we hear a lot about it. Charles and Kenny are on the desk there, you know, talking about the games before in the halftime and previewing. It was fun to watch, and Auburn, yeah, is the odds-on favorite to win it all, but a lot of incredibly tough and great teams still left.
Yeah, there's a lot of great teams still left. I personally picked who was my pick to win it all was Duke, because like I just feel like their team is very talented, and Cooper Flagg he's really good.
He sure really is, good. Yeah, like I said, they got 3 in this top 10 to come on. It's amazing how great he is, and you know, he came into the tournament banged up. He you know, had a really bad ankle injury just as the regular season was ending, as they're heading into this tournament, and then he got poked really badly in the eye. Also on the weekend's game, and he said he was seeing double vision for a bit. It was blurry, and it was all watering up on him, and yeah, so you know, he's had to overcome some injuries and adversity as well.
Yeah, no, he's definitely had to overcome some adversity, but kid's tough. Kid's tough. Bred tough. You know what I mean? So managed to get through it, and Duke now is facing Arizona. That'll be a tough matchup. That'll be tough test.
Yeah, always. Arizona's always great there, but yeah, I love watching Arkansas win. I love seeing they beat St. John's. I saw Mississippi get a big win over Iowa, number 6 over number 3, and yeah, it was like I said though. Yeah, Colorado State. I'm glad you mentioned them. They went on a really great magical run, but were knocked out, and then McNeese ended up in their second round loss to Purdue by 14. Owen Drake was one of the other teams. They ended up getting into the second round and beat by Texas Tech by 13. But I'm glad you mentioned Cooper Flagg, because I've noticed in the NBA this year, it seems to be even worse than normal for me. It seems like the NBA teams are tanking super badly this year. I'm noticing way too many teams that are just trying to lose so they can get Cooper Flagg. And I don't know if it's worse than other years, but for me, I'm disgusted with some of the games I'm watching. I've noticed Toronto, we get every Toronto game here because we're in Canada. And I tune into Toronto games, and Scotty Barnes almost never plays the fourth quarter because they want to lose. It's crazy. He's playing, I think he's playing less minutes than almost everybody on the squad in the fourth quarter. And all the main starters are actually almost never playing the fourth quarter. There was a game today against Washington, and I was like, why should I even bother watching this game? These two teams are horrifically bad, and I think they're trying to lose. So why do I want to watch basketball if the two teams are trying to lose? It's not fun.
No, and I'm sorry to say this, but it just hasn't been enjoyable to watch the Raptors this year, like
No,
really at all.
no.
And then also too, so I'm gonna watch the Raptors and the Wizards play. I think I got better things to do with my time
Yeah.
because it's a race to the bottom. Like we're just like, oh no, I don't want to win this game. Oh, but you don't want to win? I don't want to win either. Like,
Yeah.
it's kind of brutal to watch.
It's becoming really, 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 really tough. And I think the NBA has to address this. I know they've tried some things. The lottery is something that they had to implement years ago so that, it wasn't just automatic that the worst team was going to get that number one overall pick. Those last four teams have the same percentage now, but still it's not stopping. And I think I've heard some really good thoughts on how to change this. And one of the ones that came closest to me to make me think is a viable option is to set the draft set the draft order at the All-Star break. Boom, it's done.
Oh,
And teams will still be in the mix. They'll most teams still think I got a shot, I can pull this together. And boom, at the All-Star break it's set. And then you're not going to have all these fan bases for the whole entire second half, teams trying to lose. They're actually going to try their best to win because it doesn't matter, it's already set.
that could work. That could work. That's not a bad idea because then at least there's no more of this race to the bottom.
Yeah.
There's just like, hey, it's set in stone. So just play the games, right? Because at the same time as they're doing this race to the bottom, it hurts the players that are on the team
big time.
because
Yeah.
there's no player development because there's no urgency to win these games. So it's just like, so what's the culture that we're trying to like set here? Like, what are we trying to do?
Yeah. The Wizards are 15-56. Like, it's just gotta be brutal to be a fan of theirs right now. 15-56. Charlotte's just 3 games ahead of them, 18-53. Toronto's not much better, 25-47. Definitely out of the playoffs, and it's just horrible to watch. I watched a little bit of the Raptors Jazz game last week, and Lauri Markkanen, they barely played him. It's just obvious that they were trying to lose, both teams, and I was getting so pissed off. It was just so frustrating. Jazz have won 16 games, lost 56. It was sad to see two teams purposely trying to lose, and it's not good for player development, for the morale, for the fan base, for TV revenue. I could just keep going on and on and on why it's not good for teams to really want to purposely lose.
No, it's not good. It's just there's so many things that would tell you that it's not good.
No.
The only thing that I will say that's good when it comes to the Charlotte Hornets, they got a great announcing team. They got a great commentating team.
Yeah.
Like the one guy that's actually calling the games and stuff, he's got to be one of the best. Like the excitement that he has in the game,
Nice.
which I'm just like, I don't know how you're doing that because your team's garbage. But the fact that it's just what he does and how he says it.
Cool.
He's one, like, you got one of the best. They got one of the best commentating teams in the NBA.
Nice.
I just wanted to point that out.
Do you remember his name?
No.
Okay.
I totally do not.
Okay. Yeah.
I like it. It should come to me, but
They've up until I don't know if I have watched too many Charlotte games this year, but up until this year they had Chris Rose as the one of their one of their main announcer guys.
Right. It
And
might still be him because it's funny that you're saying that because I can hear his voice right now
yeah.
as we're going through. I just can't remember his name. I think it might be Chris Rose. I'm gonna look it up.
Okay. Well, I'm going to talk a little bit about the standings and the conference. Let's talk about the teams in the top that aren't trying to lose. OKC Thunder are still just unbelievable this year in the West. 59-12 record. They got a 13.5 game lead over the Rockets in second place. The Rockets have been playing phenomenal lately. Nine straight victories before their last game. They passed the Nuggets now. Nuggets are down in third, but only a game back of them. Lakers are having some struggles and not looking too good lately. 3-7 in their last 10 and lost their last 3. Grizzlies have also lost their last 3, and they've slipped back to 5th. The Warriors are hot on their heels. They've won 9 out of their last, or they've won 8 out of their last 10. And 16-3 since Jimmy Butler got there. Very exciting that Jimmy Butler is returning to Miami tomorrow to face the Heat. There is rumors that they are going to play a tribute video for him during the game. Are you surprised?
A little bit, because I thought Pat Riley might be a little bit, quote unquote, petty about how the situation ended. So that maybe they would just say, or maybe the tribute video would be like, thanks, Jimmy, for all the good time. And that's it.
Maybe there'll be some kind of little dig in there somehow, but
they could cut it
just
cool.
because it just ended so acrimoniously and it really wasn't very good for months there, the entire season before they finally said see you later. And and it's happened relatively soon after, and it's still, the wound I think is still fresh for the Miami Heat organization, as well as the players, fans. A lot of people probably are a little bitter at the way it ended.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would be bitter at how it ended because it just, it didn't end well at all. And but it's unfortunate. We don't know what happened, like in the background or with their dealings. We don't know what happened. But here's the fact of what did happen is that every time with Jimmy Butler, when he doesn't get his money, that's what he does.
Yeah,
that's a fact. This is what actually happened.
It's happened.
So if you paid him, this wouldn't have happened. But since you didn't pay him, that's how it ended.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay, so Warriors currently sit now in the only the last guaranteed playoff spot in 6th place. The other 4 teams behind them, the Clippers, the T-Wolves, the Kings, and the Mavs, all sit in the play-in tournament currently. We'll see how that shakes down. I think the Mavs are purposely trying to lose, so Phoenix might be that team that ekes ahead of them and slips back into that spot. And Mavs will have AD back today. I guess he's playing tonight. He has been out since his first game with Dallas, but I understand that he was healthy enough to suit up tonight. And we'll see. I'm sure he'll get hurt again real quick, and he'll be back on the shelf.
That would be the funniest thing. It's like he suited up tonight, and he got hurt that game, and he's out again for another couple months.
Dallas came really close to actually fulfilling their dream that they were going to have to forfeit games. Did you hear that they were not going to be able to have enough players to actually suit up a roster, and they were going to have to forfeit some games because they ran out of money and they didn't have enough healthy bodies to put together a roster? Did you hear that last week?
Yeah, I heard about that because they literally only had 8 players left. And then 2 of them were on 2-ways and they'd have to go away.
Yeah.
they were going. And so there's like they would like I don't know if that's ever happened in the NBA. Like, has that ever happened?
I think
Not
it
in the
has.
modern
Yeah,
day
I think
NBA.
it has. I think there's been on a few occasions teams had to forfeit. Yeah, that's why they got that rule in place. Yeah.
Yes, because like I was gonna say for the modern day NBA, like in the last 20 to 25 years, definitely hasn't happened.
Yeah.
But here's why it did happen. I'll tell you, Mavs fans. You traded away Luca. You got cursed.
Yeah.
This is now your future, Mavs fans.
Yeah.
Every year, something really bad's gonna happen. Every year. And you have Nico Collins to thank for that. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Jason is frozen. I think I could see that. I hope I'm not frozen on his end. Come on, Jason. Come on.
Yeah, okay, there we go.
There you
I
go.
can
All
hear
right.
you now.
Okay, good. I can hear
Yeah.
you. Oh, okay. There you are. You were frozen, but you're back.
Okay. Did you hear anything that I just said?
Not at the end.
Not at the end. So basically, I'm just saying like it's the curse of the dawn.
You said
Of
Nico
Luka the Dawn.
Collins, and then boom.
Okay, so Nico Collins has done this to the team.
Yeah.
You have cursed the team yourself with your own actions. So fantastic work. Great stuff. I'm going to look forward to AD coming back and then getting immediately injured. Part of the curse as well. So there you go.
Yeah. Okay, let's switch a little bit to the Eastern Conference. The Cavs haven't been as dominant lately. They're allowing the Celtics to sort of creep back into that possibility of getting the #1 seed. There's still a 5-game lead there, but Celtics are playing really well. They've been able to reduce that number down, which was double digits for most of the year. We'll see. It's going to be a good dogfight between those two. I think Cavs still have that upper hand, obviously, with 5-game lead, but Celtics are coming.
Yeah, Celtics are coming, man. I think the Cavs have lost their last 4 games or something like that. So, which is unfortunate, but yeah, the Celtics are 9-1 in their last 10,
Yeah.
and that the Cavs have to be wary of the fact that they could be chased down right now.
The next 4 teams are the Knicks, Pacers, Bucks, and Pistons. They seem to all have kind of a guaranteed playoff spot. They're the top 6 there. The Pistons are having a resurgent year, and they're just a game back of the Bucks, sitting in 6th. The next 4 teams are the Hawks, Magic, Bulls, and Heat, and those seem to be the playoff teams that, or the play-in teams that we can kind of guarantee already. The Raptors are actually 5.5 games behind the Heat in that spot. So yeah, we can already kind of pencil in all the top 10 teams, and then 8 will come through that play-in. Yeah, the matchups are starting to really come into shape.
Yeah, definitely the matchups are coming into shape. I think the best storyline out of all these teams going into the playoffs is by far and away the Detroit Pistons, where they were garbage last year. And now with the JB Bickerstaff as their new head coach, with his philosophy, his infusion, and then him empowering his guys and bringing in the right pieces, like who would have ever thought that the Pistons would have such a crazy turnaround, miraculous turnaround, as opposed to what they were last year to this year.
Incredible. Yeah, I love it. NBA Players of the Week, Kevin Durant in the West, leading the Phoenix Suns to a 3-0 record. He had just over 27 points per game, 6.3 assists, and a little over 4 rebounds. Went on a perfect streak. And the Suns, as I said, sitting down in 10th, 11th place. I think they're going to go on a little bit of a run, push Mavs out, and that'll be the top 10 teams. In the Eastern Conference, the Player of the Week was Kobe White. He led the Bulls to a 3-1 record, a little over 30 points a game, 4.3 assists on 56% shooting. And as I said, the Bulls sit 9th in the conference right now. Good for those teams trying to get into that play-in tournament, having 2 guys, Players of the Week, leading the way.
Oh yeah, definitely. Certainly helps. That's for sure.
Okay, let's turn to the NHL. We talked briefly about the NHL with Ovetkin, but let's talk about the Canucks. The Vancouver Canucks are on a 6-game road trip. They played New Jersey tonight on Prime. They lost the first couple games of the road trip against St. Louis and the New York Rangers. They outshot the Rangers 39-11 and lost 5-3. And so it was a crazy finish to a game where you're like, oh man, the Canucks really should have won. And I
Yeah.
think Lankinen is finally played too much. I think they're wearing him out. And so tonight, Thatcher Demko came back. First game since February 8th. We haven't seen him in nearly 2 months. He suited up tonight. A lot of people were pretty mad that I saw on social media tonight because they just didn't think that they should risk it. It looks like the Canucks aren't going to make the playoffs, and why risk him coming back? But he did suit up tonight, and the Canucks ended up beating New Jersey 4-3 in a shootout, and Demko did get the victory. I hope he's 100% healthy. They're not risking his health to try to salvage a season that seems to be done.
Yeah, because that would be crazy. Because like that wouldn't even make any sense. So there would be no need to trot him out there like if he's not 100% healthy or as close to 100% as they can get him at this point in time. Because again, I think he's still dealing with that weird injury that no goalie's ever had before. So yeah, but I would hope now, knowing that okay, you're not going to be making the playoffs, so play the guy sparingly. You know what I mean? Like develop your other goalies, whatever. Like it just, I don't want to say that they don't care about winning, but it's just not as important as what it would be if they were still in the playoff hunt.
Thatcher's missed 106 games in the past 3 seasons, so his health has been just horrible, and it's been 4 separate injuries. I think that injury that he had to his knee that nobody ever had, I think that's been 100% back to 100% there, I'm pretty sure. But NHL is terrible with disclosing injuries. They just say upper body, lower body. They don't give great timelines, and it's really tough to know exactly why a guy's out.
Yeah, and I get it because if you tell them exactly what happens, it's like, cool, I'm going to target that. Then I'm going to make sure he's out for good.
Yeah. Yeah. As I mentioned, Canucks are, just hanging by a thread to the possibility of the playoffs. Right now, St. Louis Blues sit in 8th place in the second wild card position in the West. Their odds are on FanDuel plus 108. Calgary is next at plus 215. Going into tonight's, the Canucks odds were plus 420. And Utah right behind them were plus 680. So Canucks went in 5 points behind St. Louis tonight, but had 2 games in hand. Were able to catch up 2 points tonight, luckily. So 3 points back with 1 game in hand. As I mentioned, they're on this 6-game road trip. They play the Islanders on Wednesday, and will continue. They will finish with the Jets. Will be their last game on the trip. They were also dealt some injury blows. Elias Pettersson has left the team, went back home. Philip Hedl also left, and they had to call up some of their young prospects. Jonathan Lekkerimäki ended up scoring tonight. One of the really young guys they have on the team. The other 2 goals were scored by Pius Suter, who's having a career year. Best goals ever that he's had. When he scored his 20th goal the other night, Rick Tocchet went over to him and said, "Hey man, that is immediate cha-ching. You're going to get paid some big money. Way to go." He went and told the media that that's what he told him after the game, and everybody's been happy that Pius has been able to step in, have a career year, being one of the top goal scorers for the Canucks this year.
And that's great, man. That's great that he's being actually rewarded, and it's coming from the head coach saying, you are going to be rewarded for having this sensational year that you've had.
It was nice seeing the Hughes brothers getting to play against each other tonight. A lot of sadness that Quinn Hughes got injured before the Four Nations face-off, wasn't able to play with his brothers. One of his brothers is out for the rest of the year, but his other brother was playing tonight. And Quinn Hughes was just recorded having the fastest skating time in the NHL this season. Just last game, he reached up to like I think 26 miles an hour. Was that what it was? Something like that. And it was yeah, pretty phenomenal that he's the fastest. It was always seeming to be McDavid was getting it year after year, but Quinn Hughes just clocked the fastest recorded skating time in the NHL this year.
That's impressive. That's impressive. Like, I always knew he was quick. I didn't think he was just like that quick.
Yeah.
Or maybe he did it just to prove a point. It's like, it's not always McDavid. I'm pretty quick too.
Yeah. He has that elusive skating ability that he just seems to be able to deke guys out, find open ice, get the puck to where he wants to go to. But I didn't see him as that speed demon that he seems to be. So great to see them kicking into high gear and becoming the fastest skater in the NHL this year. That's wild. Quickly, the 3 stars of the NHL this week were Philip Gustafson, the goalie for Minnesota, was first star. He led the Wild to a 3-0 record. Only allowed 2 goals on 86 shots and had a shutout. .976 save percentage, leading Minnesota. Second star went to Jack Eichel, center for the Las Vegas Golden Knights. He had 2 goals, 5 assists for 7 points in 3 games, and is 5th in league scoring this year with 23 goals, 64 assists for 87 points in 69 games. And third star was Dylan Holloway, the center for St. Louis. We got to see him the other night when the Canucks were there. He had 1 goal and 6 assists in 4 games there. And he was one of the big acquisitions St. Louis got out of Edmonton. And he's having a phenomenal year. Super resurgence for St. Louis there. So yeah, that is the 3 stars of the week. I do want to mention a couple other things. The Four Nations, I don't think it's called, sorry, the Nations Tournament in soccer. It's not called the Four Nations. The Nations League tournament in soccer happened over the weekend down in LA at SoFi Stadium. Canada faced Mexico in the opening match, lost 2-0. US faced Panama in the opening match and lost 1-0. So there was lots of anticipation, and we talked about it a couple weeks ago that Canada US trying to meet in that gold medal match. That final match was going to be great. Well, it ended up, because both teams lost, we ended up facing them in the third place match yesterday. Canada was neck and neck with them. It was a 1-1 game until Jonathan David, Canada's lethal striker, ended up getting taken down in the box, and Jesse Marsh, the Canada coach, lost his mind, flipped out so bad that the referee gave him an immediate red card, kicked him out of the game. It seemed to galvanize Canada together. David scored within minutes after. Ended up giving the Canada the 2-1 lead. They eventually won, and we were able to beat the Americans again in a one-on-one battle. Pretty great result, and too bad it wasn't for the gold. It wasn't for the trophy, but nice to see them finish the tournament on a high note, beating the Americans, even though their coach couldn't be there. It seemed like he was trying to stick up for his guys, and his men really responded really well to it, and we got the win.
Well, it was the right play, clearly, what he did there. And also, too, as far as I'm concerned, at this point in time, especially with how our countries are, like our relations between the two countries, sending a message.
Yeah.
still sending a message.
It
It's like,
sure is. Yeah.
yeah, you are the US and you have like what 10 times the amount of people that we do, but it doesn't matter. We're still gonna beat you. And we did. And
Yeah.
I think it sends a message, and also too, it just sets it up great for the World Cup. It really
Sure
does.
does. Sure does. Yeah. Can't wait. Yeah, it really does. Sticking in the world of soccer, the Vancouver Whitecaps lost their first MLS game of the season. They lost 3-1 to Chicago on Saturday. Whitecaps have been decimated by injuries lately, lost a lot of their top guys. Brian White couldn't play, and many of the other top guys were out. So, giving them a little bit of a pass there. But they still sit on top of the Western Conference, fully in first place. So, nice to see them there. The Whitecaps do play the Champions League again this week. They're in the semifinal. They play a team called Pumas on Wednesday, April the 2nd, down at BC Place. So go check it out if you're local here. And the Whitecaps next game is against Toronto in MLS on the weekend as well. Always a good matchup to see the two Canadian teams play against each other. And here's a note: Liam McKenzie, young prospect. The Whitecaps have been having in their feeder system and their farm system. Got called up this week. He's played over on Vancouver Island for his entire career. He comes from Comox, which is my birthplace, and got to give him a nice shout out. He's been on their radar for a while, and because of the injuries, he got an opportunity, got to play in his first MLS game on the weekend,
Which is awesome, which is great. Like it's always good to see the local talent rise and get an opportunity to play with the big club. And hopefully, as he's up there, he can score a couple goals, get a couple assists, do well.
Yeah, let's hope. Let's hope. Canadian note in the world of tennis: Denis Shapovalov ended up losing today. No shame, though. He lost to number 3 world ranked Taylor Fritz in straight sets in the Miami Open. No shame in that, as I said. Vancouver Warriors in the NLL got a big 15-13 win over the Georgia Swarm on the weekend. Second straight win. They're looking fantastic and a lot of fun. Go down to Rogers Arena, watch the games. It's a blast, and cheap tickets, cheap beer, a lot of fun, a lot of action. It's a really, really good time. Fully recommended. World of Golf yesterday. Victor Hovland won for the first time in 576 days. He had won the FedEx Cup a couple of seasons ago and then decided to change his swing and struggled. Has looked really not like the same golfer we saw in his early part of his career. But he came from behind yesterday, was able to beat Justin Thomas. Thomas had a 3-shot lead with 5 holes to play or 4 holes to play. Thomas ended up blowing it, and because he I don't know, he unfortunately made some really poor decisions in his driving the last couple holes. He bogeyed 16 and 18 because he took out his driver and tried to blast it as far as he could, and he hit it way off the fairway. The first one on 16 went way off into the woods. He couldn't hit towards the green, had to just chip out. It took him a while to sink it. Hovland came up behind him, hit a nice iron right down the middle, ended up getting a birdie, ended up catching him, eventually passing him and winning. Thomas hasn't won in a couple years now as well. And but the ego seemed to get Thomas. He wanted to pull out the big stick, show that he could still do it. He should have played the safe way that Hovland did. Hovland ended up getting the trophy.
Yeah, no, he definitely made a strategic mistake there by letting his ego dictate what he should do on the golf course. And there's one thing about golf: you shouldn't let your ego do that.
Yeah, true. You're right. Exactly. Top Canadian in the tournament was Corey Connors. He ended up in a tie for 8th, 5 shots back. Great to see him still up there week after week after week. They play the Houston Open this week on the PGA Tour. Should be great starting Thursday. Speaking of Justin Thomas, he's playing currently as we're recording this broadcast in the TGL. They are in the final tonight. It's a 3-match final, so tonight's match is the first one of the 3. They play New York and Atlanta. It started about 6 p.m. Pacific time here, and they have the second match goes tomorrow, 5 o'clock Pacific time, and the Atlanta is Justin Thomas is on Atlanta with Billy Horschel and who else do I have? Oh, okay, and then New York we've got Cam Young. Who do we got here? Oh, I can't see. I can't read what it is, but anyway, watch it. Tune in, watch the final. It has a possibility of going it's best 2 of 3, so it has a possibility of going 3 matches. Tonight's match 1. There'll be a match 2 tomorrow. If they're still tied, 2 teams are tied, it'll be a third match immediately following the second one. So very excited. Lots of fun. Pretty short little season, but fairly successful and a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, no, it is a lot of fun. I've tuned in here and there. It's pretty cool. And just one quick aside, I finally found out who that announcer is for the Charlotte Hornets. Eric Collins.
Eric Collins.
Eric
Okay.
Collins.
Okay. Hopefully no relation to Nico.
No. He's part of the Better Collins family, so he would never made that trade, by the way.
Okay, good. Okay, well, I'm glad you found it. Good. Yeah, I'll have to tune into some Hornets games down the stretch and listen to them. Yeah, it's always good to hear great broadcasters.
Yeah.
F1 had the second race of the season. That was in Shanghai, China, in front of 270,000 fans over the weekend there. They had a fantastic race, and McLaren ended up finishing in the top 2 positions. Oscar Piastri was able to beat his teammate Lando Norris by about 10 seconds. And McLaren are definitely leading the constructors title right now. 78 points after the 2 races, 21 points ahead of Mercedes, and 42 ahead of Red Bull. And speaking of Mercedes, George Russell was really great in the race. He ended up finishing 3rd in China, and he sits also 3rd in the driver's standing this year behind Norris and Verstappen, who sits in 2nd place. Max ended up finishing 4th in China. Red Bull's struggling a little bit this year. Definitely don't have the fastest car. McLaren seems to be the team to beat this year. I think McLaren, Mercedes, and Red Bull will probably be those top 3 teams. Ferrari was supposed to be one of those teams, especially getting Lewis Hamilton into the fold. Both Ferrari cars ended up getting disqualified after the race. Lewis Hamilton ended up finishing 5th, but got disqualified for something was wrong with his skid plate under his car, and his teammate Charles Leclerc ended up getting disqualified because his car was underweight. And brutal result. 0 points for both the Ferrari cars, and not a great start to the season. They were supposed to be kind of neck and neck with those top 3 or 4 teams, but 0 points in a race is really not going to help them at all.
No, it's actually very, very bad. It's very bad what happened, and it's unfortunate because it's like, how did those mistakes happen? Why did those mistakes happen? Because I know that you're trying to look for every advantage that you can, but you got to stay within the rules.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Next up is the Japanese Grand Prix, and that takes place on Saturday, April the 5th. So coming up soon. Okay, let's turn to the UFC. We had an early card from London, the O2 Arena. This is their 16th time in London, and always attracts a great crowd. Didn't feel like this crowd was as boisterous as as electric as I've heard a lot of the London crowds, a lot of the UK crowds, and I think maybe because their fighters only won 2 out of 8 fights in the night, that probably definitely helped to keep them a bit muted. But still a fun event, still a lot to talk about. Let's break it down, and especially as we always do, start with the main event. We had an absolute demolishing of a former champion. Sean Brady ended up coming in out of Philadelphia, silenced that London crowd, really severely beat up Leon Rocky Edwards. This was not even close. This was just a one-sided affair, and Sean Brady really seems to have been able to evolve his game to a point where I think he could be one of the next belt holders.
Absolutely, absolutely. Like you would have to say that Edwards probably would have had the advantage in the stand-up striking. Didn't seem that way whatsoever. Brady had a fantastic game plan of pushing him back, keeping him on the back foot, using his striking to set up his takedowns. And then when he did take down Edwards, literally in the second, third, fourth round, he kept him there.
Yeah.
Edwards could not get up.
No.
But yes, Brady is literally one of the best grapplers in the UFC, period, and has the technique to keep his opponent grounded for as long as he wants to keep him grounded, which is exactly what he did in the second, third, and fourth round. And then in the fourth round, when he finally got sunk in that guillotine choke, and it looked like it was a one-armed guillotine choke.
Yeah.
It looked like he didn't even lock it up with 2 hands. And
right.
I was impressed. It was a dominating win against the former champion. I did not see this coming. I didn't think that he would be able to do what he did, but it was super impressive. And so, in my opinion, Brady should be either one fight away from fighting for the belt or fighting for the belt.
Yeah.
Period.
The total strikes disparity was insane. Sean Brady landed 221 out of his 295 attempted strikes, 74%. Leon landed 23.
Wow.
23. Insane. Absolutely incredible. Brady got 5 of his 7 takedown attempts, and he's just so big. He's just so big because he is a lot shorter than most welterweights. His just mass is just so hard. Once he's got a guy down, his back is so wide. His he's able to really stretch out on a guy so wide and keep him down. And I just saw that total dominance, and I thought he was going to have that advantage if the fight went to the ground. But Leon, I thought would be the better fighter stand up, but it wasn't the case. Brady, dominated in both facets, and it was just a one-sided thing. Leon, I don't know why this is, but I've seen Leon, fight incredibly well in many occurrences, but there's been times where he just seems like he's checked out a bit. He's just checked out. And that first Usman fight, for 4 rounds, he was not in the fight. He was getting beat. He looked checked out. His corner had to yell and scream at him, "Let's go. What are you doing? Come on." And when he landed that head kick on Usman, it changed the course of history, and it was one of the greatest moments ever. But if he doesn't land that, he loses that fight heavily, and who knows where his career trajectory is at. In the second fight, he beat Usman fair and square and looked good. But I've seen times where he just sits there and he just doesn't seem to have the energy that's required to fight at an elite level with the top of the division.
Yeah, because I'm gonna agree with you. He seemed off.
Yeah.
It just didn't seem like he had the necessary wherewithal to compete with Brady on that particular night, because he literally got blown out. And I know, and he's a better fighter than what he showed that night.
Yeah, I've just noticed it in other fights. I saw it against Bilal Muhammad. I saw, I've seen it in other occurrences where it just doesn't seem like he's there. And the cornerman that yelled at him during that first Usman fight, "Come on, Rock, let's go." He
Yeah.
was outside the cage, and the two guys inside were doing most of the talking. And I really wish he would have been able to get in front of him in the cage, got him out, sparked it out of him, got that energy somehow, but it never came out. And it's unfortunate because Leon's had a phenomenal career, incredible for him to do that and have the belt, defend it again, and look like he was one of the best fighters in the world. But yeah, he looked like he just wasn't there. He just wasn't competing with Brady. So I give Brady, all the credit in the world. Incredible victory for him. What's next? He's lost to the champion. His only loss was to the champion Bilal Muhammad. I watched that fight today.
Okay.
The first round was razor close, super close fight. Bilal was on the front foot the entire first round, and Brady was counter striking. And up until the last 20 seconds of the fight, Brady had landed definitely the most power shots and the shots that elicited the worst responses. And I was giving the round to Brady. I was going to write his name down, 10-9. Boom, he had it. Bilal had a late flurry where he landed some really good shots, and I probably would have still given it to Brady, but Bilal possibly would have been able to
Just feel that
change the
round.
dynamic, and maybe some of the judges would have seen it. Let's give it to Bilal because it was late like that, and that's
That's
fresh in your mind. Second round, same thing was happening, and I don't know why Brady was always allowing Bilal to press the action. I don't know why. He was on the back foot and he was counter striking, and he just didn't seem like he was firing like we saw against Leon here.
yeah.
Bilal ended up catching him with a stinging shot near the end of that round, and noticed that it wobbled him.
Yeah.
It really shook him up, and then just started firing at will and landing and landing and landing. And Brady was in defense mode. He was trying his best to get out of the way of the onslaught, and he was doing okay. He was getting hit, and it was looking like the possibility of the beginning of the end. Unfortunately, it was in Abu Dhabi, and Lucas Busaki was the referee. He was used on this card in London. He's used in Europe and places like that here and there, but he's not one of those guys we see all the time here in North America. I don't think he ever referees over here. I think he jumped in a little soon, a little bit of an early stoppage. There was something like 13 seconds left in the round. I think if it was me, I would have let it go, and we would have saw a third round, and we would have maybe seen a difference. But I think you definitely give it to Bilal because he really beat him up badly in the end of that round, but it was close. And I would
Yeah.
really think I would love to see a rematch between the two.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Because like Brady he proved with this dominating win over Edwards that he's tops in the division, and that he deserves a shot. Now, okay, remind me who's Bilal supposed to be fighting again?
Bilal's fighting JDM, Jack Della Maddalena, and that's happening on May the 10th, UFC 315.
But he was supposed to fight Rachmanov, right? And
Right.
Rachmanov is injured.
Yeah.
All right. So this is what I will say. If Brady doesn't fight immediately for the belt, then he fights Rachmanov, and then whoever wins that then fights for the belt.
Yeah.
That's what I would say.
Yeah, that seems reasonable. I could see that happening. I could see the UFC giving Rachmanov that shot because he just got injured.
Yeah.
He would
It's not his
already
fault.
scheduled, so he's next in line, possibly. But Brady better be fighting for the belt, very soon. If not his next fight, the fight right after.
Yeah, and now with that being said, definitely one of the more interesting divisions in the UFC right now,
Yeah.
because there's been a lot of changeover, and the top guys are all very, very good and
Yeah.
very worthy of possibly being champion.
One thing I really liked about Brady, and I heard him speak Saturday, I saw him speak today as well, is that his favorite fighter of all time, same fighter as mine, George Rush St. Pierre. And he said he's always really modeled his attitude, modeled his lifestyle, everything around what George brought to the cage. He wants to be respectful to his opponents. He wants to, show that he can emulate George and have a fantastic career. One of the things he did mention is that George just wasn't a wrestler in high school or college. Brady
No.
wasn't that guy. Brady grew up on the tough streets of Philadelphia and finally got into the gym and started training and got better and better. And now, his wrestling is one of the best in the
Yep.
world,
Yep.
definitely in that division. And that's just, something that we saw with GSP as well. GSP did have that setback earlier in his career when he lost to Matt Hughes in that opening title fight. Ended up fighting him again and winning the belt. So it could be something we're seeing emulate him in that way, where he did lose to Bilal in the first occurrence, gets an opportunity to fight him again and possibly, snatch that belt away.
Yeah, yeah, no, that would be a perfect story for him, since he follows GSP and wants to emulate him as much as he can. That
Yeah,
would be perfect.
be really great. He got 50K bonus for the win, and he definitely deserved it. What a masterful performance, and that guillotine choke, pretty wild. I wouldn't have thought he could have got the tap, but he sure did. And the other cool thing about it was his daughter was born on Super Bowl Sunday when the Eagles, his favorite team, won the Super Bowl. And then the day that he walked out of the hospital, a couple days later, he got the call that he was to fight here in London against Leon Edwards. And so he said, my daughter's given me the great good luck charm already. Eagles winning, getting a chance at Leon, getting a huge win. He's looking forward to getting back and spending time with her, which he really says hasn't happened too much yet in her life. And he says he wants to fight sometime in the summertime.
Yeah, well, that you know what that makes a lot of sense. Gives him some time with his daughter, gives him enough time to train and stuff. And again, I firmly believe if he doesn't fight for the belt, then he should be fighting Rachmanov.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any other. There should be no other fight that he should accept other than those two. That's
good call. Yeah. A lot of people on X saying Leon should retire. I don't think that's the case.
Come on.
Maybe he had a bit of a bad night, but I think there's still a lot of great fights ahead for Leon.
And I think that's a little rash. I think he had a bad night in the office. It happens to everybody.
50K go to Brady. Also 50K to Kevin Holland. 50K also to two women, Alexia Tinara and Shannon Bannon. Tinara, I'm petitioning that she loses the 50K because of the brutal entrance into the cage and the way she acted after she won. We'll talk about that in a couple minutes. But did you see how disgusting it was? How long she took to get to the cage, and then her disgusting display after she won. It's just like I'd kick her out of the UFC if I was Dana White.
Well, first off, I didn't notice the entrance because I think I stepped away for a second, so I didn't see how. I didn't know, like, was she dancing? Was she taking way too long just to get to the octagon? I didn't notice that. I didn't notice
She took longer than she did in the fight to just get into the cage. The dancing was brutal, man. It was brutal. It was disgustingly long and brutal. And oh my God, I was like, holy cow, we were just like, get on with it, girl, get in there. We were thinking she was going to lose because she was going to be exhausted. How long she took 10 minutes to get into the cage, dancing
Okay.
around.
No, okay, that takes a little too long. I did see her post-fight celebration. I just thought it was weird. That's
Yeah.
all. Like I was just like, that's interesting. I've never seen that before. Probably don't want to see it again, to be honest
Don't
with you.
want to see it again. No, no.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to the co-main event. Really kind of a lackluster fight,
Yep.
unfortunately. Two really of the top guys in the light heavyweight division. We had Jan Blachowicz, former champion, number 3, coming in against Carlos Ulberg. And yeah, these guys both look too scared of each other. It
Yep.
was just really too tentative. Really didn't have a lot of action, not a lot of strikes landed. It was too bad. I was really looking forward to it. I thought this was going to be two Titanic guys facing each other, and it didn't deliver.
No, it didn't deliver at all. They were both very wary of each other's power. They knew that one lone mistake could probably put their lights out. Both guys knew that, and they fought that way. So nothing really happened. It looked more like a sparring match. By the time the fight was done, I was like, thank goodness, let's move on.
Yeah.
And I didn't know who was going to win. But
Yeah.
at the same time, I'm like, nobody really took advantage as far as I'm concerned and took the fight. So as far as I was concerned, judging wise, whoever wins, wins. Whatever.
Yeah. Ulberg now has won 8 in a row. That ties him 4th most in the UFC. We got Islam on a 15-fight win streak, Marab on a 12-fight win streak, and Dricus du Plessis has won 9 in a row, 3 champions right now. Movsar Evloev also has won 9 in a row, and we've got Ilya Tupuria and Khamzat Chimaev also have 8 wins in a row. So joining some elite company, but not very fun. And I don't think the UFC's immediately putting Ulberg in a top flight fight after that performance. He'll probably be number 3 ranked, so he'll be fighting somebody pretty tough. But I sure hope he shows a lot better next time, because it's not something that I'm signing up for tomorrow if I hear he's fighting again.
No, like it was just super disappointing from both fighters, and I'm sure they're both disappointed with their lackluster performance because it was certainly lackluster.
Yeah. I guess there's talk about him fighting Yuri Prochazka next, who is number 2 ranked in the division.
That would be a good fight because
Yeah.
Prochazka would make him fight.
Yeah, true enough. Yeah, that's true. This was a good fight between Gunnar Nelson and Kevin the Trailblazer Holland. As I mentioned earlier, Holland got 50K from this performance. When he fights at welterweight, and he's able to be sort of on par size-wise, we can get really great performances out of Holland. This to me was an awesome display. And one of the reasons why he's one of my favorite fighters. I really thought he put on a masterclass, beat a really tough guy in Gunnar Nelson, who was definitely looking like he had a little bit of rust, had some surgeries coming in, 2 years off. But I'm not taking anything away from Holland. Great fight.
Great fight. Like when he fights in the welterweight, he's not being overpowered. Number one. So he has the capacity to get up even if he's taken down.
Yeah.
He floored him in round 1, Gunnar. I thought the fight was actually over.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, so this fight's over. I was impressed that Gunnar hung in there, managed to hang in there, finish the fight. But I thought he was still rocked in the second round. Wasn't completely recovered from being floored from the first round. And Holland was very good at getting offense off of his back whenever Gunnar took him down. Very good at that.
I could not believe how many shots he was landing from his back. Yeah, it was crazy. Like 5, 6, 7, 8 times before Gunnar was moving or getting a shot in himself.
Yeah.
Yeah, he landed, dozens and dozens and dozens of shots off his back. Yeah, it's wild how good he is when he's, being controlled on the bottom.
Yeah, no, it was super impressive. It was just an impressive win against a very tough guy in Gunner. But like you said, there was definitely some octagon rust there on Gunner for
Yeah.
sure.
Okay, I mentioned Alex Tanira. She got 50K for this win. It was brutal. Didn't like it. Really too bad. And also, unfortunately, she retired Molly Meatball McCann. Molly's been so great in these UK London cards, one of the fan favorites, and she's been in so many exciting fights. She decided that she was hanging up, calling it a career. She finishes 14-8 in MMA, 7-7 in the UFC, and she'll be always remembered for many highlight reel moments, and her friendship with Paddy Pimblett really seemed to transcend the sport and make a lot of people big fans of hers, and I think she'll be sorely missed.
Yeah, I think so too. She definitely be remembered fondly for her fights. Because in this fight, I'm gonna be honest, she looked really good. Like she was moving around well and everything else, up until the point where Tanera got that sneaky trip in and took her down to the mat, and then was able to control her, get her back, and then sink in the rear naked choke. And it was a shame. But I'm gonna be honest, I kind of had the feeling that if she didn't win, there was the possibility that she might retire, which is what she did.
That's what she did. Yeah. Uh, Okay, let's talk about the epidemic against the problem. Chris Duncan ended up getting the victory. The Scottish boy beat the English guy, and this was very impressive. As he constantly just went for the submissions, just had to keep trying to transition to the right one. Finally gets the tap with the guillotine after the takedown attempt didn't happen. He was able to sink it in there and get the tap.
Yeah, he was able to stick it in there, get the tap. I thought that he grappled really, really well against Vucenic, and I think he might have even surprised Vucenic with how well he did grapple,
Yeah.
and how good he was on the mat. In round two, where Vucenic, I thought he did an ill-advised double, left his neck out there a little too much, a little too long. Duncan took advantage of that, jumped guard into the guillotine choke, and got the finish.
Got the finish. He sure did. Um, that was his 8th KO, and he's on a great rise. He called out Terrence McKinney. Wants to fight him in Miami coming up. Hope they make that happen. That will be awesome. Okay, we had another UK boy, Nathaniel Wood, facing the French last pirate Morgan Charrier. This was a great back and forth battle. I thought Wood ended up winning every round though, and I gave him the 30-27 nod. I thought he just was a little bit quicker, a little bit better in the technical chess match that this fight ended up being.
Yeah, he was better striker by far. I thought he was the better technical striker. He even dropped Charrier in the first round with that beautiful right hand. Like his timing was great, especially catching Charrier coming in and hit lightning fast combos.
Yeah,
Like lightning
so
fast
quick.
combos,
Yeah,
man.
I
So
know.
quick.
Yeah, he was incredible. Um, and yeah, I guess he wants his nickname to change. He's called the Prospect. Doesn't think that suits him anymore. He's in his 30s now, and he said there's a nickname change coming for his next fight. Uh, let's see what yeah, what the world comes up with, or he comes up with for that. No longer a prospect. He's had a pretty damn impressive career, and yeah, can't wait to see him back. Okay, let's talk about the fight between the Black Country Banger and Chris Taco Padilla. I had Padilla actually winning 2 rounds of this one, and Jai Herbert winning one of them. They ended up giving it split decision. Two judges also had it scored the same way I did, 29-28 Padilla. Good battle, but I thought Padilla did win those first two rounds.
Yeah. Again, I thought this fight could have had like a lot more action.
Yeah.
I thought it was very, very, very much lacking in the action department. I'm gonna be honest. I kind of thought that Herbert was the busier fighter, so
Right.
that's why I was thinking of slightly giving him the nod. But at the same time, nobody. It didn't feel like any fighter took the fight.
They just were canceling each other out.
Yeah,
It was
no,
just
yeah,
like, yeah,
yeah,
it just seemed like nobody was really leading the action and taking
yeah.
control of it. So yeah, slightly I had Padilla eking out two of the rounds, but I could have easily saw it going the other way. There was an elbow that briefly buckled Herbert late, but he survived, and I thought that was still enough for him to win that last round, but super hard to score. I would have hated to be a real legit judge on that one for sure.
Yeah. That was a tough one to score for sure.
Okay. Talk about your thoughts on the Kavanaugh against Dos Santos fight.
I thought this fight was awesome. I really enjoyed this fight because I've always loved Kavanaugh. I love the fact that like he's got great side to side movement, great head movement, and he throws very accurate, crisp combos.
Yeah.
He's a very good combination striker. But Dos Santos was very good at throwing knees and fighting off his back when he got taken down. But even with those strikes he was throwing from the ground, Kavanaugh's grounded pound was something else.
Yeah.
That was special. I was very, very impressed with the fact that once he got his opponent down, he was doing damage and he was doing big time damage, which is what he did. Yeah, I thought Kavanaugh looked fantastically, looked great, and definitely won this fight.
Yeah, I had Kavanaugh winning it definitely from that grounded pound. I wrote fun fight, circled it a whole bunch so fast. It was awesome how quick it was. These guys at 125, it's amazing the transitions. A guy gets a guy down and immediately a reversal, quickly back up, a couple of shots, and then another one, scramble back down. One guy's got position, the other guy flips it around. It's pretty impressive. And, I'm super happy that flyweights can be still so dominant and fun to watch.
Oh yeah, well they were always fun to watch. Personally, I've always thought, and like you said, like it's the flow of the fight that is absolutely amazing to watch with these little guys because they go up, down, and around, and it's so fast, so quick. Always entertaining.
Yeah. We had a heavyweight battle between the Englishman Mick Parkin against Marcin Tybura. Tybura was ranked number 8 coming in, Parkin number 13. Tybura is definitely a longtime veteran of the sport, been around forever. I actually had Parkin win in this fight when I scored it. I thought he ran 2 rounds and Tybura won 1. They ended up saying that the judges said Tybura won 29-28 on all 3 scorecards. Where did you sit at the end of it?
Yeah. So I guess when it came to the judging, I guess they were looking at like they gave more credit to Tybura's herky jerky, awkward style of how he'd come into his strikes. That's what it felt like to me. Because I agreed with you. I thought Parkin actually won. I thought he was the busier fighter, thought he was a little bit more accurate.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Marcin Tybura, when it comes to stand up in his striking, it's very hard to gauge what you should do because he has a very awkward style.
Very
Like
awkward, yeah, definitely.
it's super awkward. So I wasn't shocked by it that he gave it to Tybura instead of Parkin, but again, this fight too, they're big men. As the fight wore on, they slowed down, the both of them. So it wasn't as active as I would have liked.
That's true. Christian Leroy Duncan, teammate of Leon Edwards. Definitely, I thought he won this fight. He almost finished, and he was in all sorts of trouble near the end of the fight. But yeah, the judges' scorecards 30-27 on two judges, 30-26 on the other. Christian Leroy Duncan, unanimous decision. He was, just really great at striking, landing a lot of very powerful shots, big shots, and even like those crazy shoulder shots that he was
Yeah.
throwing. And he looked dominant in this one.
I think he threw like one combination was two flying knees in a row, like in the end. So he had a diversity of strikes. He kept the fight at the distance that he wanted to keep the fight, and he kept Poliev on the back foot literally the entirety of the fight.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a great performance. Okay, the fight here start off the night ended up winning 50K. We had Shauna Mama B Bachman. She ended up getting the victory here. Pooja Cyclone Tumar, Indian fighter, head kicked her, had her down, and should have really just tried to get her to stand back up and knock her down. Unfortunately, engaged with her on the mat. Bannon ended up turning around, grabbing an arm, ended up forcing a tap and getting the win. What a crazy comeback. She was so close to being finished and was able to snatch that arm, get the win.
Yeah, snatch that from the depths of hell, because if Tumar hadn't been so excited and went for the grounded pound finish, instead got her to stand up, I think Tumar wins that fight. But since she did go to the ground, that gave Bannon a chance to try to lock something up, which is what she did. Tumar almost got out of it, but I think Bannon readjusted just in time to hit the better angle for the armbar, got the finish.
Got the win, got the win. Okay, that wasn't the first fight of the night. Sorry, I got a couple others to talk about. Quickly, Nathan Fletcher against Callan Loughran. What are your thoughts there?
Very good fight. Very tough fight. I thought these guys were very well matched, equal in quality, because Loughran won by split decision. It could have gone either way.
It could have gone.
That's the way I thought. That's the way I thought about it. It could have gone either way.
I totally agree with you. Yeah, it was super close fight. Great fight. Very evenly matched, guys.
Very evenly matched.
Guram Kutadze against Cal Fernandez. Fernandez making his UFC debut and coming in, and really looking super strong, dominating, fast, really good movement, just lethal leg kicks, beating up that calf and getting the unanimous decision victory.
You know what Fernandez reminded me of? He reminded me of all the great kickers that are in the UFC, like Edson Barboza, Justin Gaethje. He has that kind of power in his legs, because I think it was Kutaladze's, I want to say it was his left calf that he finally had to hide.
Yeah.
He only hit that thing 5 times, but it looked like he hit it 50. Like his calves, his legs were beaten up at the end of that fight.
Yeah. They sure were.
Very, very impressive. Very impressive win.
Okay, we have a fight night coming up this Saturday from Mexico City. It will be a main event, the flyweight bout between Brandon Moreno and Steve Erceg. Moreno, the number 2 ranked former champion, coming in as the hometown boy against number 8 ranked Steve Erceg. It's earlier card. We've got 1 p.m. Pacific for the prelims, 4 o'clock for the main card, and in the East it's 4 o'clock prelim, 7 o'clock main card. The hometown boy, as I said, 2-time flyweight champion, first Mexican-born ever UFC champion, 2 ranked in the division. He's nicknamed the Assassin Baby. A record of 24-8 with 2 draws. Last fight was a decisive win over Almir Albazi. That was back in Edmonton in November. And he lost the belt to the current champion, Alexander Pantoja, by split decision at UFC 290. Pantoja has defended the belt 3 times since his victory there over Moreno. The second title defense was against Steve Erceg, who fights in this one. Astro Boy, 12-3 in his MMA career, only 3-2 in the UFC. Coming in, also lost after that title fight, lost to Kai Kara France by knockout back in August. So tell me about your thoughts about this main event. Should be a hell of a fight against with two really high level guys.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a great fight. I think Erceg is going to try to keep a certain distance because he's definitely the more technical striker out of the two.
Yeah.
And I think Moreno is just going to want to create chaos because that's where he operates best, is creating a chaotic atmosphere and temperature within that octagon. So I expect this to be one heck of a fight. It's going to be great.
Yeah, it's going to be really great. I really look forward to it. I think whoever wins is the next title challenger after the title fight that happens in June. Kai Kara France is scheduled to fight against Pantoja, UFC 316, June the 7th. It was originally scheduled for next month, April the 12th, UFC 314. Don't know why, but they pushed it back a couple of months. So likely the winner of Saturday's main event will face the winner of that title fight in June. The only guy ranked higher than Moreno currently is Brandon Royval, but he's lost to Pantoja twice already.
Right. Yeah.
And so likely, yeah, we see this is the title challenger fight.
Yeah, totally agree with you on that.
Royval's 1-1 against Moreno. I don't see them making them fight again. I just don't really see it happening, but we'll see. Manel, I think Royval was supposed to fight Manel Kape on earlier this month in March, but he pulled out due to an injury. So another reason why I don't see. Yeah, I see the winner of this fight fighting for the belt after that June fight. Co-main event has Mexican Manuel Torres, El Loco, they call him, 15-3 MMA career, 3-1 in the UFC. He beat Chris Duncan, who we just saw on this weekend's card, Nicholas Mota, and Frank Camacho in his first 3 fights before he lost his last fight against Ignacio Bahamundes back in September. 7 KOs and 7 subs in his 15 wins, so he is a finisher. His opponent is Drew Dober, who's been around the UFC since 2013, a veteran in the sport, 27-14 in MMA, 13-10 in the UFC, but always in exciting fights. He's got 8 performance bonuses, 4 fight of the nights included in that, and it just always seems like he's willing to go bang. He doesn't play defense. He just tries to trade, throw shots, and if he gets knocked out, oh well. He hopes to be the one to land the shot. I love it. I see this as fight of the night for sure.
Yeah, Drew Dober, extremely durable and an entertaining fighter. Always willing to throw down, go forward. Yeah, I agree with you. I think this is definitely, possibly could be fight of the night. Definitely, probably the best fight of the main card.
The Kelvin Gastelum Joe Pyfer fight should be really great. Both these guys, yeah, bring a lot to the fight game. Kelvin Gastelum last time out, he won by decision over Daniel Rodriguez, and he lost to Sean Brady by Kimura back in December, but yeah, has had a really decorated career. It was just announced last month that Gastelum will enter the Hall of Fame in June for the fight that he had against Israel Adesanya, and that title fight was one of the greatest title fights of all time.
Yeah, that was a great title fight. Kevin Gastelum's a great fighter. I just feel that for this particular fight, he's going to be severely undersized. Joe Pyfer is a huge middleweight.
Big.
And I believe he's going to capitalize on that physicality, going to constantly keep pushing Kelvin back to that cage fence and try to unload on him. I think this could be a very quick night.
Yeah.
Quick work by Pyfer.
Pfeiffer, also a Philly guy like Sean Brady, 13-3 in MMA, 4-1 in the UFC, 1-1 in the Dana White Contender Series. Last time out, he knocked out Marc-Andre Barrio, the Power Bar, UFC 303. And his only UFC loss was by decision to Jack Hermanson. 28, really seems to be one of those guys the UFC seems to be grooming for bigger and better things constantly. And lining him up with the good opponents that he can get that record way up.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. They're grooming him. And then also too, like he's an exciting fighter because he has knockout power.
Yeah. Okay, a couple of other UFC notes. Joe Rogan said he's disgusted with the government of Canada, so will not be on the call in Montreal at UFC 315. He said, I'd rather go to Russia than Canada now.
Yeah, I saw that. I don't know where that's coming from. Like I haven't heard any of his thoughts on the matter. I don't like because like I'm thinking to myself, okay, so you pick Putin over, well, I guess it's Carney now, but that's not going to last. But you pick Putin over Carney, meaning that you agree with what Putin's doing.
Yeah.
You like the war in Ukraine? You like the senseless slaughter? Is that what you're saying? Because I'll tell you this much, we're not doing any of that.
Yeah.
We're not doing any of that.
We're not doing
Only
any.
thing that we're doing is we're reacting to an idiot. Oh, sorry. I misspoke. Your president and all the unfair things that he's doing, because it's like, wow, I thought we were good.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, but this is, by the way, the tariff thing, that was a deal that he made. We didn't, like, he did that.
Yeah.
And now he's saying it's unfair because you wrote it up or you forgot that you did it. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, it's too bad. It's bad news, and yeah, I was caught off guard by that. So yeah, unfortunately, he's picking sides, and yeah, doesn't want to come to Canada. I guess if you don't want to come, we don't want you. So yeah, stay at home, watch it like we all will from home. But that'll be a great card in Montreal, and I hope all the Americans stay home. Go ahead. We don't need you.
You know what?
The other
Maybe
note from the UFC today was that Cain Velasquez was sentenced to 5 years in prison today for the shooting that took place in 2022. Sad news that he has to face more jail time, but at first I was hearing the possibility of life. I was having the possibility of 15, 20, 25 years. 5 years means he'll probably be out in a couple of years. Unfortunately, over very, very, very tough incident.
very tough incident that I'm just gonna say it. I think a lot of people don't have a problem with what he did.
Yeah.
I know I still don't. And the fact that he only got 5 years, like it kind of tells me something as well. So I'm glad that he only got 5 years. I knew he was going to get something. I was hoping he was going to get life, and hopefully with good behavior, he's out in half of that. So.
The man that he was chasing that allegedly molested his 4-year-old son is set for trial in June. So we'll see what happens in that case there. Let's hope he gets the book thrown on him.
Yeah, like like life sentence. Because I believe he's done it before, and then he did it again. So yeah, he should never have been let out of jail in the first place.
No. Really. Terrence Crawford really upset Shakur Stevenson this weekend, saying that Shakur should fight Tank Davis on the undercard of him and Canelo coming up in September. And Shakur said, "Are you effing kidding me? We are even more popular than you, and we'll sell more pay-per-views and be the more mega fight than your little fight between you and Canelo." So, yeah, good war of words were happening over the weekend between these fighters.
Okay, funny that he says that because everybody knows that's an absolute lie. And if it's not a lie, prove it. Go headline. See what happens. See what your numbers are compared to him and Canelo Alvarez. I'm pretty sure I know what the answer to that will be. Next, I do like him throwing shade though, saying, "This is how good you are. This is the pecking order. It's me, and there's you somewhere down there. So how about you just fight underneath me, like you've always been?"
Yeah, yeah, I was loving it. It was pretty fun to watch the back and forth between the guys there. So,
Yeah.
a few other boxing news and notes. Alexander Usyk supposedly is looking at some super fights. He's getting a little long in the tooth, and he says he doesn't have too much more time left. He said he's open to actually getting into MMA, and wants to fight Jake Paul and Alex Pereira. He wants to fight in MMA, so that will be pretty wild to watch if that ended up coming to fruition. And MMA, both those guys.
Well, first off, Jake Paul, great call out, because this is what Alexander Usyk sees. Wow, that's easy money. I just beat him up,
Yeah,
like easily.
yeah.
Like that's easy money. Like that would probably be one of the easiest paydays. That would be the equivalent of Conor McGregor, Floyd Mayweather.
And
That kind of easy payday.
he wants to do it in MMA. He's saying,
Yeah, still easy, because guess what? It still starts on your feet first.
true.
Good luck, Jake.
True.
Yeah.
Speaking of boxing, what do you think of this new Dana White league with Turkey Al-Sheikh, TKO Holdings, and the Saudis have decided they want to do a similar thing to boxing like the UFC does, have a league and be able to make the fights happen like the UFC does. And do you think it's good for boxing?
I think it's great for the boxing fans, and I think it's great for boxers, because from what I've seen so far, for the fights that everybody wants to see, boxers have been super happy with the results. Like with the Bivol versus Berbiev 1 and 2.
Yeah.
First time they got paid a lot of money. The second time they got paid more money. Both of them did. Nobody has a problem if those guys are involved, because money's not a problem.
Right.
So let's get it happening. They're teaming up with Dana White, who understands the landscape of fighting. That makes sense to me. I think it's a win. I think it's a win for boxing fans who want to see the best boxers fight. And let's try to do away with this promotional bullshit at times, where the promoters are up against each other. It's like, well, my guy's got to get paid more, and it's all about ego.
Yeah.
Those guys take the ego out of it, because they just say, oh, you want more money? Fine. No problem. Just perform.
Yeah. Do you think that TKO Holdings, that owns the UFC and WWE and all that, do you think they will try to employ the same kind of pay structure though? And if they don't, then will they have a problem with all their employees with the UFC and with WWE? If they pay them more, will there be a disparity there, or do you see similar types of contract structures?
That's a good question. I don't know what their plan is for that, because if they want to try to bring in the boxers right now that are the top names, well, then that doesn't count for them.
They won't be.
That doesn't count for them. But if it's for the new boxers on the rise, and Dana White's been shown to be very good at suppressing fighter pay, then maybe it works.
Yeah.
Because at least with boxing, this, you can only suppress them for so long until they finally make their big money.
Yeah.
You can only do that for so long.
True. Yeah. Okay, well, I'm looking forward to the UFC. I'm looking forward to the boxing, how that plays out. I just want to make a couple of notes before we call it a night with football. There was a massive flurry of NFL signings during the free agency period. It has been insane. I've got money put in front of me on the teams that have spent. What teams have spent during this free agency period. And the team that has spent the most money in free agency was the Minnesota Vikings, $243.5 million, by far and away the most to restructure this team. New England Patriots were second with 214.5 million. It goes down. The Giants 192, Seahawks 191, Panthers down and down and down. The team that spent the least amount of money was the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they only spent $22 million in free agency. I guess that's going to go up once they make a decision quarterback wise and what happens. But were you kind of blown away by this free agency period and how much money was just handed out to guys all over the league?
I was, but then maybe again I wasn't, because like, you know what, at the end of the day, the NFL is a very competitive league.
Yeah.
Teams are in there to win. And it was cool to see, because you want your teams to be competitive, and the teams that are spending money are demonstrating literally with their pocketbooks that we plan to be competitive.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Seattle Seahawks were really revamped. They lost their quarterback and their top two receivers, turned around and handed the keys over to Sam Darnold to run the show, convinced Cooper Kupp to come over. Very, very great. What were your thoughts about what the Seahawks did?
I'm a little bit surprised. I didn't think they would pivot that hard, like especially with like releasing Lockett, letting DK Metcalf go. Like I just didn't think they would do all of that. But
Yeah.
But at the same time, I was glad that they signed Sam Darnold, because I thought that was kind of literally like a lateral move, and I was glad that they got Cooper Kupp. Again, I thought that was different kind of receiver, but still a lateral move. So now they have another number one receiver in their fold. So
Yeah. There was a report today that was very weird, but Cooper Kupp was telling everyone that he feels like retiring at the end of this year. And I was quite shocked and put off by that. And I wondered if the Rams had heard him utter those types of words before they decided they were moving on and replacing him with Devontae Adams and just moving on. It sounds like he wants to call it a career after the season, which is super bizarre.
that is bizarre. You know what? It would make more sense though why they moved off him, because it never made any sense to me why they moved off him. That guy's given you everything that he could give, and the fact that he got injured is, well, I don't know. It's football. You're gonna get injured. So because I was always shocked. I'm like, why did they do that? Like that guy's been awesome
Didn't
for the
make sense, did
organization
it?
for a long
Didn't make
time.
sense
No,
because he was one of the most reliable guys for years there, years. He had some injury troubles, but he was just money. You could count on him to catch 100 balls every year, easy. And he signed a 3-year, $45 million contract with the Seahawks. He's a Washington native, come back to his state that he grew up in, and I thought, okay. This is a good move for Seattle, replacing, two really good receivers with a great guy. They also signed Marquez Van de
Scantling.
And, I thought, okay, obviously not to the same level as Lockett, but still a really good complimentary second option. And then I started hearing today that Kupp is wanting to, play out this year, and that he thinks that'll be it. So I don't really know. I don't know where this came from, but I was quite shocked by it.
Hopefully, it's just maybe a thing set in passing that maybe he's considering it. I hope he plays longer than, like just this upcoming season. Like maybe he plays out his contract. That would be better. So we'll see. We'll see if that actually comes to fruition. But if he had said words like that in and around the Rams organization, it makes sense why they moved off him.
True. Also in the world of football, we've got another league. I said Major League Baseball starting this week, opening the season. Also, spring football starts this week. The UFL is back. They start on Friday, first games. We've got the Arlington Renegades against the San Antonio Brahmas to kick off the season on Thursday, 1 p.m. Pacific kickoff time. And then we've got a second game that night against Houston Roughnecks. St. Louis Battlehawks play in the second game. And then there'll be 2 games on Sunday as well. Memphis against Michigan and the DC Defenders host the Birmingham Stallions. So UFL is back, spring football. Let's hope they get a little more traction, a little more fans. All the games are going to be shown on Fox, and yeah, let's hope we can see some elite talent playing spring football, and some guys that can end up getting some NFL contracts as well from shining in this spring football league.
Yeah, absolutely. Like hopefully that there's going to be some really good talent that's going to give themselves an opportunity to play in the big boy league, which is the NFL. But more than anything else, hopefully it's just entertaining football to watch.
They are receiving a little bit of controversy right now because the players want to start a union, and there's been a backlash from the ownership against it. Two coaches have decided to call it quits on the eve of the opening of the season over the union issues and troubles they have. So hopefully they can get that sorted out. I don't know what the pay structure is, but unionizing is usually pretty good for the employees. So I'm sure it'll benefit the players if they can pull this together and make it happen. And I hope it does for the for the players that they're putting their lives on the line. They're the reason why people are going to watch. They're the entertainment. They deserve to get treated well, paid properly, have the benefits that a union gives you.
Exactly. Have all those benefits, which is to protect their employees, which is what a union gives you, which is why the owners don't want to see it, because they don't want them to be protected. They don't want any of that. And they also don't want to see their salaries raise up or whatever. But if they can make the union happen, all the power to them. I hope it happens.
Yeah, let's hope. Okay, man. Thank you very much. That was awesome. We had a 2-week hiatus, come back renewed, feeling great, and nice way to kick off the week. Hope you have better luck with your car tomorrow, and have a fantastic week ahead. And I hope your back's feeling better.
All right. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. I'm just going to take some old man rub 8535 right now,
Nice.
and hopefully be good as new in a couple of days.
Sounds good, buddy. Okay, man. All the best. We'll talk soon. Take care. Thank you very
Take
much.
care. Bye-bye.
Okay, everybody. Appreciate you hanging in, sticking in throughout. Always great that you're here to the end, and yeah, you're faithful, loyal, incredible viewership. Love you. Always appreciate it. Thanks so much to our partners and sponsors. Anchor.fm, the easiest place to make a podcast. Love you guys. And if you want to do it, go over to Anchor.fm. We got Verbero, the hockey equipment and apparel company, industry leader in technology, performance, and value. And the V350 stick is a must-have. Pampas and Possibilities, designers of West Coast pretty things for your home. Get them in there, spruce it up, make it look great. You will not regret it. And Forever Living, the aloe vera company for health and beauty products. We love them. You will too. Just get yourself onto our website, and you can get some discounted products. Love you. Take care of yourself. Have an awesome week ahead, and we will talk soon. Take care. Bye for now.